Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
Very special guest today. It's the Wednesday Hot Seat episode. Chris Rose of the Chris Rose rotation. Anytime that we're talking baseball content, it's kind of like, it's not even a Mount Rushmore. It's kind of just like three names that always come up. Chris Rose and the Chris Rose rotation, always in the conversation. You know, when we started doing the hot seat, people were like, where are the player interviews? Where's that? How about people that can really talk baseball? How about people that can carry a conversation? We can throw he didn't even ask for topics. That's how you know he's a pro. He's just like, talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about and we'll talk about it. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Guys, it's awesome. I'm excited to do this. It's like worlds colliding.
Yeah.
You know, it's like those collab episodes. Although this would be like in the old days if people paid attention to this. Like if networks from NBC, if you started using like on-air talent from NBC and ABC and they came together and, you know, they're really not supposed to like each other. And then you're like, oh my God, they actually get along and all that stuff.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because how I look at this is very similar to the music industry. Like, I feel like in the content creation industry, it's always like, well, everyone's competing with each other and everyone is trying to be better than the other and come up with different ideas from one another or one up each other. Whereas in the music industry, it's like if two very popular artists did a song together, everyone would be fucking pumped. They're like, I like this person and I like this person. And then they made a song together and I love that song. So it's like, why? I don't understand why more people don't do stuff together that are in the same space, but we've never operated that way or looked at it that way.
I know. Dude, you were supposed to join us for a Blitzball battle. What the hell happened?
I know. It was midweek. I know. Like, I feel like Jimmy might still be pissed at me about that, but it was like midweek. And I was like, I can do weekends, but during the week is tough because we have to do the podcast during the week. So we were like getting put up at a hotel and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to still fulfill my podcast obligations and all that other shit while also doing this. So it was just tough scheduling wise. I would love to do it.
All I'm going to tell you is, you know, now we've got, you know, podcast studios in our warehouse. I don't know how much you guys watch the warehouse content that we put out and stuff, but it is a blast. Like I feel bad for you because you would have had such a good time. And to pair you with my producer on Baseball Today, Dan Rourke, who is the craziest Yankees fan ever. And
biggest
then,
Aaron Judge fan alive.
I mean, ever. And so to have put you two together in one building for 4 days would have been incredible. Now, we could still be like Oprah and make dreams come true. And so maybe somewhere down the road, this ends up happening.
Do you guys still do it in the off season or no?
The last one we're shooting, it'll be during the season. But I mean, you know, usually we try and sneak one in. I think the first one we usually do is like around spring training. Okay. So it gets a little but usually right around the start of spring training. I haven't seen 2025's schedule release as far as when we're shooting it. But I'll peel back the curtain a little bit for you guys. It's hilarious, man. We bring in Moylan to come up and join me in the booth. Apparently, I don't ever work with anybody who's not, you know, from a foreign land. So, like when I do Blitzball battle, it's with Moylan, who's from Australia. We did the Ball and Play League, which is the combination of Blitzball and cricket, and I did that with a woman named Melinda Farrell. She too is from Australia. Darren Sammy, of course, you know, he's very famous cricketer as well from the West Indies. And then I do floorball, which is kind of, you're all familiar with that. It's hockey without the skates and with a ball instead of a puck.
Yeah.
And I do that with a guy, Pavel, who's from Canada. So apparently no American will work with me.
I mean, first of all, Dallas is obsessed with Blitzball. So when I angle for the offseason. I was the one who introduced
Blitzball to the John Boy guys when we were at the Easton.
The factory there. Yeah.
The Easton factory. I introduced them to it, showed them what it was, introduced them to the Blitzball guy, and
off we go.
Now here we are.
Well,
thanks
that
for
was
the millions, Dallas.
Absolutely. Hey, buddy. You ask Jimmy about it. There was a fateful conversation one evening when the seas were parting, and I said, Jimmy, this is for you. Here's what we're not going to be able to do where we're at, but here's what I want to give you.
Dude, now it's on freaking Bally's. Like,
that's crazy.
It is. Like, so like if your favorite team's game is in a rain delay or like you keep channel on, and then all of a sudden our warehouse games will pop up. People are like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, that was like 2020, and like Dallas was in a very different point in his career to where now he's doing like 155 plus games a year on the A's broadcast. And with my schedule, it's gone from like 2 podcasts a week to 5 plus Sports Hub plus MLB Network plus what's the other thing? Oh, Nesson. We're doing like the Red Sox games now on Tuesday nights. So if there's something going on in the offseason, me and Dallas are there. I haven't even asked Dallas if he'll do it, but I know he'll do it. If in Hey too, we'll put together a BID team and we'll be there if there's an offseason tournament.
I like that. Well, I'm not the decision maker. I'm just a mere,
an advocate.
I'm a widget.
Yeah.
So I'm just part of the cog. That's all.
Well,
I'm happy to bring it up.
We just did a wiffle ball home run derby at the All-Star game in Texas. And fucking Jake, who says 3 words a show, maybe, he went out and was one of 2 guys in the first round to hit double-digit home runs. The other one was like an active college baseball player. Like no one gave Jake any respect going into the home run derby, and then he went out and hit 10 bombs in the first round. So, I mean, don't sleep on Jake being someone that could contribute in a big way to the warehouse games.
Jake, highlight of your career? Was that what it was?
Yeah, probably 10 bombs in my inaugural derby has got to be the highlight for sure.
How much were you sweating down in Texas?
I think I probably lost 15 pounds in just sweat.
Oh. Well, in that case, maybe I should spend a couple days down there.
It's a lot.
Try and get this dad bod down.
Sweat it out you.
It's a lot. But on the subject of content creation, you've been there, you've done that. You have a long, illustrious career in media in general. Is this, I mean, I don't want to just assume, but is this the most fun that you've ever had? Because I know like along the stops, like you've never been wear a suit, sit on the desk guy. Like I feel like even in television broadcasting, you've always been in roles where it's like, let's have fun, like let's let our hair down, like playing that role. But in this world, this podcasting world, is this the most fun that you've had?
Yeah, it's so different than anything I was used to. Like when my contract wasn't renewed at MLB after 2020, I still wanted to stay in the baseball space. I felt like I still could contribute there. And there just weren't a lot of avenues, right? I mean, Fox had diminished its baseball coverage to a degree. ESPN, it was probably hard to get in there. So there just weren't that many avenues unless I wanted to try and call games for a team. And I didn't feel like that was going to happen at that time. So I knew Jimmy and Jake a little bit because we had all been together at that Easton event. I think that was probably the first time I met him, maybe second, because I've seen him maybe at winter meetings or something before that, I think. And we had always kind of stayed in touch. And then we had a meeting, like a Zoom meeting one day, and we felt like it was a good fit. And so I kind of gave him a proposal. It was only supposed to be a couple of Rose rotations a week. That has obviously changed significantly because now I do Baseball Today every day, thus the name of the podcast. Still do a Rose rotation, do a couple of episodes of Football Today, which is kind of our, it's twice weekly. And then I've become the voice of these warehouse games, which have kind of popped out of nowhere, and they're a blast. So the thing that John Boy has allowed me to do is kind of use all these different broadcasting muscles. I still do occasionally wear a suit and tie on Sundays during the NFL season at NFL Network. But yeah, it's very, I have been kind of synonymous with Best Damn Sports Show period with Intentional Talk, which is more of there is no roadmap, guys. Figure the shit out and go for it. And that's the stuff I love. I love being a part of something where there isn't the way to do it. SportsCenter has been an incredible vehicle for 45 years. But there is a way to do it. They might make some little alterations here and there, but there is a blueprint to it. I love being told, go figure this shit out, and if you turn the wrong way, if you turn left when you should have turned right, we'll let you know. That's awesome. And in fact, this weekend at Fanatics Fest, we've got a Best Damn reunion. It's going to be the first time in more than 15 years that this group is getting together. So it'll be Tom, Michael Irvin, John Sally, myself. We can't peel Kruk off of his Phillies game.
No.
I don't think that fucker wants
What about
to get in
Dibs?
the car.
Where's Dibs?
Yeah, Dibs isn't making it. We got CC Sabathia as our baseball guy. Local dude up there. He used to come on and guest host for us. And then Jalen Rose, who was always a big contributor when he was an active player in the NBA. So we're going to have, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like you have so many different chapters in your career that are just they're that. Like it's like nothing was the same as the last stop. Like, do you have a favorite? I mean, is it like for you? Is it like picking between favorite kids?
Yeah, which I'll be happy to do at the end of this episode. So I'm sure Josh and Brady Rose are standing by. They're like, Dad, don't make us sit through that again. I mean, I got to be honest with you. It's going to sound like a cop-out, but there aren't that many days that I've had in the 30 years of being on air where I've woken up and have been like, shit, I fucking got to go to work. Like, it's been a handful of days, and usually that's because of nothing having to do with the work and everything having to do with whatever's going on in my life. If there's something happening with one of our kids or something's going on with Michelle or whatever it might be. It's very rarely have I woken up and been like, I do not want to do this. And it's just because I have a passion for it, whether it's doing the highlight show with the NFL. I get to call the Browns preseason games, which is, that's my hometown team. Like, those are 3 days out of the year, but it's 3 days that I adore. Like, I feel like I'm 9 years old going back and calling Browns games. BattleBots is something we haven't talked about, but that was some crazy. I didn't know anything about BattleBots when I
love BattleBots. Rosie, BattleBots was, you want to talk about like coming home from God knows where at God knows what time.
Yeah. King Stoner Dallas, you think that's not right up his alley to just plop on the couch after ripping the bong?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around like, bro, this thing has wheels, but it's got a fucking scooper and the saw, but then the handle, like, and if the hammer comes out, it's over. Like, it was incredible theater. Incredible.
Yeah, so for the people that haven't seen it, it's two 250-pound robots inside of a bulletproof glass cube that are fighting for 3 minutes or until the death. So in 2015, they brought it back off the shelf. It used to be on Comedy Central. ABC had picked it up. And my agent calls and they're like, what do you know about BattleBots? I was like, Battleship, like the game you used to play. She's like, BattleBots, you moron. So I spun it up on YouTube. They wanted me to audition. Our oldest son at the time, I think, was just wrapping up like his 8th grade year, whatever it was. He comes down. He's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to audition for this show. You want to give it a look? And he watches, and 90 seconds in, he goes, you are not doing that. I was like, what do you mean I'm not? I don't even have a job, but why are you saying that? He said, Dad, I'm going to get laughed out of school if you do that show.
No way.
I said, no. I don't think so. So we ended up doing it. It was a 6-episode summer replacement on ABC. It ended up being a fairly decent hit. All of his buddies loved it. Like, they couldn't stop talking about it. And I remember walking into his room one day and I said, you're welcome for finally not being a loser, you turd. There you go.
Dad crushing it on BattleBots. That is
exactly.
Fucking awesome. I mean, seriously, it is great TV. It is great theater.
Wow, that's a really great point, Dallas. The MLB season is in full swing, and Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats, strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and so much more. Make entries of all baseball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. I've been sprinkling a little cash on the Oakland A's. That's a team that has been
making you money.
Yep. For real. You can join me if you'd like. If you're into the whole making money thing, make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That's Jared to get up to $250 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared.
When you tell a story like that, and you can see the difference between sitting on the couch hanging out and you get a phone call, hey, you want to try this out, and then there's other things that you have aspirations to pursue. Have you found that just being you at this point in your life is just the best way to go? We understand that when you meet folks, you're probably putting forth a representative to a point, like when you're auditioning, right? But they know who Chris Rose is now. They know who this dude is. They know who he's all about. There's no need for the fluff. Is it easier to just be you doing the work you do now as opposed to, say, back in 2015 or even before then?
Well, I could use the BattleBots as an example, like the two guys who are, because that's really not considered a sportsy world, if you will. It's more of the entertainment and
Science.
Entertainment. Like, they really don't know who you are in the sports world unless you are like the top of the top. Like, they would know who Stephen A. Smith is in the entertainment world. They don't know who Chris Rose is. So you were always kind of trying to sell yourself a little bit. I was fortunate in the BattleBots world that our 2 EPs on that show, Chris Cowan and Aaron Catling, are huge sports fans. And Cowan is a huge Cleveland sports fan. He went to Ohio University, which is my rival. I went to Miami. And so that was nice. I think that was actually a huge foot in the door for it. Like I felt like I was winning the opportunity because those dudes were like, listen, man, we followed your career for 15 years. So there's no question that sort of stuff is helpful. But, you've got a lot of people that kind of, and I think it's great, that kind of literally come out of nowhere and explode onto the scene. I mean, hell, who would think that we would know the Hak Tung girl like 4 weeks ago? Like, we would have been like, the Hak Tung girl, what is that? And now she's rolling in it. Good for her. Like, I don't know what it says about our country and where we are, but hell, if you got an opportunity for it. How long does that last, by the way, guys? What do we think?
What,
she's trying to make it last. I mean, she was like anonymous for the first couple weeks there, and now every time I open my Twitter, I see a post from her. So I feel like, she's got to get a podcast, right? Like, how else do you monetize being the Hawk Tuah girl unless you have some sort of platform to monetize besides tweeting memes of yourself? But all the power to her. You got to capitalize on that stuff.
Have to. Like, in the beginning, I just kept playing it over and over and over. And my wife is like, are you 12? Like, really? Like, yes. Will you grow up? I was like, hey, listen, baby, come on. Why not?
We did something way worse in the beginning of this iteration of the podcast where every time Dallas would talk about Shohei Ohtani, I went back and like clipped off some audio from like a hardcore throat porn, and so we played that about 10 different times. A little bit of a step up from Hawk Tuah girl, but that's I think that's been replaced on the soundboard since then. Yeah,
not so sure it's a step up, but could be.
It could be.
We'll see.
You just never know.
Yeah.
But from your new chapter in your career, you have a lot of regulars that you talk to. And again, I'm going to go back to picking the favorite kid. Do you have a favorite regular? And why is it Tyler Glasnow?
I know. That's your little...
That's my guy.
You love him.
I'm in love with him.
That's your man crush.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have Twitter, so people don't realize it's a two-way street, but it is a mutual bromance for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. So it's interesting. Like, I'll go... let me get into how I picked him. I almost knew none of them. Like, knew them. I had interviewed them a couple of times. Like, Glasnow, I think I'd interviewed twice on Intentional Talk, maybe. Brault had met one time at the winter meetings in San Diego, which is where he's from. But once again, had interviewed him maybe twice. So I was kind of sliding into guys' DMs and cold calling them a little bit. And Trevor May was the first one I did. And he answered in like 10 seconds. He was like, I'm in.
He's very
Let's do it. Yeah. But that's what I knew. I kind of felt like that's what it was.
Amazing radio voice.
Yes. Incredible. And loves the content creation world. Like, good for him. I love it and we spent a lot of time talking about that, particularly when he signed, when he went to the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what's going to happen here. Like, your first bad outing, everybody's going to shit down your throat for doing something, instead of baseball 24/7. He's like, I get it. We did an episode one time. I want to say he had blown a game the previous night in San Francisco, and he was supposed to join us the next day. Starting pitchers, I can kind of figure out the timing. I never, ever schedule an episode with them the day after they pitch, just in case they lay an egg, right? But with relievers, it's impossible to tell. Like, they are on call 24/7. They are the attending OBGYN. So the next day, after his crappy performance in San Francisco, he still joined us. I said, you don't have to. He's like, nope, I want to. I said, how was social media last night? He goes, Chris, I got on and I broke it. He goes, my mentions were so full that it crashed. I was like, oh, man. I said, does it make you reluctant to want to go on there? He's like, no. I'm kind of a glutton for the punishment. He said, I signed up for this, and this is what I do. But it's kind of a circuitous route to take you back to just, I didn't know these guys. They weren't like friends of mine. Like, there are some guys that I consider friends, And I asked them, and they said, listen, it's just too much, particularly the everyday ball players. They said that's why more and more of the guys are pitchers than anything else. But Glass is great. He has an incredible way about him to be so much cooler than the common person while still being able to relate to them.
Yeah.
And his clips and his shows have consistently done the best, in my opinion, because of that ability to connect the everyday Joe who might be making $50,000 a year to the guy who just signed a $130 million extension. Like, we feel ourselves in him, even though none of us can be 6'8", throw 100 with an incredible hammer, and just kind of go through life where he's like that. So
yeah,
he's
very
awesome.
Free-spirited. He's great sense of humor. You didn't mention the fact that he could just quit baseball today and go be a model somewhere. He's
too
got
tall
the
to be a model. Kravis.
Yeah, that's
He's
true.
Too tall
that's
to be a
true.
model.
You can always Photoshop him down to my height. And then he's just a good guy. Like you can tell with certain people where it's fake, where they're kind of like a politician in a way, like you're trying to be nice because you want to be more marketable, versus like Tyler Glasnow just being like a genuinely awesome dude. So I want to ask you this, because I usually ask this question to others that are similar, in the similar category of content creation. So you are doing it, you're almost the perfect example. So you're doing a daily baseball show where you're talking about news, but you're also doing a show where you're talking to the players. How do you walk that line of like, I want to do this story justice and I want to give an honest take on it, but I don't want to piss somebody off? I mean, like, I think with this show in particular, if it's a really, really bad story, we can't ignore it. But we're not necessarily looking for negative things to talk about because there is so much positivity going on in the league. So we kind of tend to focus on that. But how do you sort of navigate those waters where you're like, I have to cover this story, but if I say certain things, then I'm going to piss off. Like the valuable lesson that I've learned is it's not necessarily what you say about the guy in the crosshairs. It's you might be pissing off their buddy and you don't want to piss off their buddy. It's just a very intricate system to kind of try to navigate there.
Yeah, it is. And I think probably intentional talk is a little bit more of a balancing act, because that was the one show on the network at the time when it started where it was free and easy, and we were considered like the buddies of the players, which I think 99% of the time was great, and 1% of the time was extremely difficult, because there are instances where you are talking about guys doing something wrong, making a statement that's cringeworthy, all that sort of stuff. Like, let's take, for example, the Jarren Duran story, okay? I don't know if or how you guys have covered it. We covered it yesterday on Baseball Today, and I actually am proud of the way we covered it. We showed his sign of contrition afterward, where he stood in front of his locker in the clubhouse and talked about it and took ownership of it. And it's an uncomfortable deal because, you're going to have one side which says, oh, you're trying to cancel the guy and all this sort of stuff. And then the other side, which is he should never play baseball again. Well, to me, it's not one of those two things. You have to be able to weave your way through it, and there's somewhere in there it makes sense. Like, he fucked up. He's 27 years old. He's not a 20-year-old kid in the big leagues. He owned it. Hopefully he learns from it. And people who are like, well, it's not that big a deal. Listen to the word. Well, you know what? To some people, it is a big deal. It's a word that you just shouldn't use. And then that's how we covered it. And Plouffe gave a great example. He's like, here's what I tell guys, because people do get under your skin. Here's what I tell them. He said, usually what I just do is look at them, smile, and just stare at them. And that diffuses the situation. He goes, it is tough, because it's particularly if you're not playing well and you start hearing shit, you can snap. He said, but you just have to. That's what sets you. That's why you are a professional. And that's what separates you. So if we had handled that during intentional talk, and then we were supposed to have a Boston Red Sox player on 2 days later, it could be a little uncomfortable. But I think if you're fair, and I think that if you're honest, like, not everybody has to be Skip Bayless and pound their chest and create something so that, it gets clicks. Like, you have to be able to put your head on the pillow at the end of the night and feel good about the way you represented your company and your family. And that's the way I've lived. Do I think that it's cost me some money? Yes, I do. Like, could I have done some of those shows that Stephen A. or Skip have done? Yeah, my sports background, and I love to argue with people. But also, I don't feel comfortable necessarily taking shots, unwarranted shots at people. And that's okay. I'm not saying that they're bad. Like, those guys have made a ton of money, and they have carved out a tremendously successful path in this business. So I'm not criticizing them at all. I'm saying that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. And I was at Fenway yesterday talking to some folks over there, and they pointed out, like when something like that happens, like the Duran example, the way that it gets covered now in sports media is you either have to be on one extreme side of the spectrum or the other. And I think where I fell was definitely on the side of disappointment, but not to the point of like, get this guy out of the league. No. Like, what a piece of shit. Like, I'm going to burn his jersey. Like, nothing like that. I basically said, and I could not stand on this moral high ground because I prefaced it by saying, like, I'm 35. I grew up in the 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s. I grew up on South Park and Eminem. So like at the time, that word, I mean, this guy was saying that word in his music and winning Grammys. So like, it's very hard when you're growing up to get away from that word, but you just get to an age where it's like, oh, this is no longer acceptable. People get really hurt by this. It's not a synonym for you're a pussy, which is what it was used for back then. And you grow up and it ceases to exist from your vocabulary. So you can be disappointed that Jarren at 27, 28 years old, that's the first word that comes to mind. You can be like, yeah, dude. But I've always been consistent. And I said on the podcast, like, it used to be like a term of endearment. I'd be like, he's a meathead. Like he's a dummy. It's okay. Like he lifts weights and he hits baseballs really hard. Like that's what he does. But sometimes the meathead culture will lead to stuff like that, where that's the first word that slips out of your mind. So you can say he's a dumbass for it. It doesn't mean that, the guy sucks and he's a bad person. And I don't know how well, Rosie, Liam Hendricks. Mm-hmm. I know Dallas knows him pretty well from his time in Oakland. But a huge advocate of the gay community. And he had Jarren's back. He's like, I know Jarren the person. I know that he didn't mean it in a way to have any type of disparaging remarks towards the gay community. It was a mistake and he's an idiot for it and he's going to grow from it and learn from it. And I feel like you can just kind of have that nuanced take and that's okay. Like you don't have to be on one extreme side, one or the other, where you're defending him and buying his jersey because he said it, or you're burning the jersey that you once owned. It doesn't have to be one side or the other.
That's, to me, the most important thing, far and away. I mean, I love to hear that about Liam Hendricks. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. I've said stuff that I'm not proud of. When you fly live for 30 years, inevitably something falls out of your mouth. You're like, God, I'm an idiot. Like, I wish that hadn't happened. And that sort of stuff happens. And I'm sure that Jarren Duran feels that way about it. And the important thing is you do learn from it. And the number of people, and I don't know how many of them are bots on social media. Like, this is the part that sucks me in and drives me nuts. And I guess shame on me is that I start clicking on the comments to see where people sit. And I take it as reality when it's probably not all reality at all. You're right. Oh, well, now he's my favorite player. Like, that drives me nuts. Like, and maybe
because even Jarren doesn't want to read shit like that. Not. Jarren is reading that being like, oh God, like I don't want to be known as that guy.
No. And like I said, hopefully he learns from it. I'm sure he will. And that's that. Like, God dang, man. And that is the problem with our society, particularly over the last like 5 to 7 years, that the extremists on both sides are yelling so loudly that they can't hear what the other people are saying. That's why we've been so divided with everything. Not to get political on you, but Jesus, I think you can take that into everyday society. Is that most of us, we don't mind being in the first layer of rough, but man, we get into the thick stuff at the U.S. Open. Then you can't find your ball. You don't know what you stand for, and there's no way you can finish the hole. Most of us just want to hit a damn 4-iron down the middle and just keep playing.
You give me PTSD talking
sorry.
about golf. Go ahead,
sorry.
No. I can't let you appear on the pod without the main reason I was looking forward to having you, despite your great resume, is Cleveland.
Yes.
I got to give you my background really fast. Like both my grandparents grew up in East Cleveland. My dad went to Shaw. Both parents graduated from Miami. So, and my grandparents, died right off a University Circle. Not tragically, not in like a car accident or anything. No. But they were there their whole lives. So Cleveland means a lot to me. And as it relates to the team, like I want to know what your expectations are at this point, because there's no question that expectations have changed relative to what they were entering the season. I think that they are tied for the best record in Major League Baseball as of August 14th, has almost once again reset expectations again. And I think this version of the team is unique within recent Guardians good teams in that the offense, at least to me, is way more dynamic and interesting than recent good Guardians offenses have been. And the starting rotation, I think, has more questions than recent versions have. I just want to know like where you're at with the team and like what your expectations are for this team.
I always explain to people that aren't from Cleveland that Cleveland sports fans are 90% scar tissue. And it is a difficult way to live, because if we miss the bus, we're not going to catch the next bus. We're going to peer around the corner and see which one's about to hit us. Like, we just are negative in general. It's a terrible way to go through life. Like, both of our sons, they're 23 and 18, were born and raised in Los Angeles. They have maybe been to Cleveland 20 times in their life. Maybe. They are enormous Cleveland sports fans through and through. Guardians, Browns, Cavs. Like, that is it. You can't mention any other teams to them with loving affection. It's just, I thought for a while that social services was going to knock on my door and take them away. That's how bad it was. So now we watch them every game and we're like, how do we have 70 wins? How in the world has this happened? Because you look at the offense, and outside of Quan, Hosey, and Naylor, like, there aren't true everyday great bats in that lineup. Like, Jimenez is awesome because his glove is so great. He's actually hit a little bit better lately. David Fry, I have no idea what he did the first 2 months, but man, I wish he could bottle that up. It's been a bit of a struggle bus for him. Bo Naylor, we thought he was going, last year, the last 2 months, he caught fire, has not been able to carry that through. We haven't had a shortstop that can hit all year. We've been rotating guys in center. We just made a trade for Lane Thomas. He's gotten 2 hits since he got here. Like, it is, I have no idea. Like, we win every game by 1 or 2 runs, it feels like, and every good arm that we have in the bullpen must pitch when they win. So we have 70 wins, and it feels like Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis and Emmanuel Clase all have 70 appearances. That's what it feels like. Now, it's not quite that, but it's close. Clase just got 4 saves in 4 days, which, Dallas, I don't know if you've ever had a teammate that has done that, or even guys who have thrown 4 straight days. But you're in the middle of August when all the players I've been around, bullpen guys walk into a clubhouse and can barely lift their arms above their shoulders. I mean, isn't that kind of it?
That's it. That's it. For him to be able to answer the bell like that in this moment right now during this run, you're absolutely right, Rosie. And that's why when you talk about needing guys in the bullpen to hit every time they take them out, like, you got to execute every time you take them out. And if you do that, we're lucky enough to get it to Clase, who can then do what he's done. So, yeah, when you have a bullpen that you have to have the performance that they're getting right now, and you're getting it, I think that's why you can look up and see the success that they've had, is because the things that you need to have happen are ultimately they're happening at the right time.
I'm glad Clase came up specifically, because I feel like, and whatever, we can maybe just say it's the Cleveland Guardians, so that's the answer to the question. But like, I feel like relief pitchers who have had runs that he's had since basically 21 get talked about more often than Emmanuel Clase gets talked about. Like, he has a 0.64 ERA, and this will be the 3rd straight season he's had at least a share of the Major League saves lead. So it doesn't really matter whether you like traditional stats or advanced stats for relief pitchers. Like, he's at the forefront of all of these. Is there Like, what's your perspective on Clase's run?
I think he's going to have a shot at the Cy Young. I know that Scooble's going to, at this point, get it. You know, everybody looks. He's right now got the American League Triple Crown. But when you break down Emmanuel Clase's importance to right now the best team in the American League and the way they win, you have to pay attention more than just the numbers. The numbers itself are great. And people look at his strikeout numbers, and I've always wondered this too, because the dude throws 101 and guys can actually put the bat on the ball. I'm like, why aren't his strikeout numbers better? Like Edwin Diaz a couple years ago, his strikeout numbers, he was averaging 18 Ks per 9. I was like, why isn't that Clase? And Hedges, who's a regular on the show, on the Rose Rotation, told me, he's like, I would rather bust a guy's thumb than have him miss his bats because he is so efficient that we can use him much more than the average closer. Over these 4 games, you want to give a guess how many pitches he threw over those 4 games where he saved? Go ahead, Dallas. You played this game a little bit.
61.
Anybody else?
What's the span?
4 games.
4.
Thanks for listening.
58.
58. That's low. Okay. Justin? What do you want to guess?
64.
Right. Jake, you could play since you hit as many wiffle ball home runs as you did down in Texas.
Let's throw out 73.
Yeah. 53. He threw 53 pitches over 4 games. That's
And 4 innings, right?
Yeah.
Right, Rosie? 4 total
4
innings.
innings.
So your average, your big league average, just a hair over 15 pitches per inning. So
And
yeah,
in
right
one
line.
of those games, he loaded the bases with nobody out, I believe, in Minnesota. And he only, like, this just doesn't happen. So I really think that the voters have to pay attention more than just the numbers. They have to make sure the story checks out. And for the way that the Cleveland Guardians win games, there's probably no more important player on their roster. You could say Jose Ramirez, I understand that, than Emmanuel Clase. We're freaking pitching Matthew Boyd and Alex Cobb on consecutive days. Like 2 months ago, that would have seemed preposterous. And that's where we are.
Anybody want to? Hold on 1 second,
Go ahead,
DB. Anybody want to take a guess? Maybe Chris, as to who leads Major League Baseball among pitchers in win probability added this season?
Win probability added? Well, is it the guy we just talked
on Fangraphs? Clase. And he has a massive lead over every other pitcher in baseball, including Scooble. So to your point about how he's being used and the importance to the wins that the Guardians are racking up, I mean, that stat in particular would at least point to that. Sorry, Dallas, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, do you have any reservations whatsoever? Is it concerning at all that as he sits right now, and it's not to say the numbers don't shift, and I feel like they probably will, but in terms of being that super dominant, high swing and miss guy, is there any worry to that whatsoever when it comes to the 9th inning?
Yeah.
I just play a clip over in my head with Mariano Rivera, right? You take that pitch and you throw it wherever you want for how many years? Well, he threw it right into the handle of Luis Gonzalez, who became a world champion. And it's not to say that Mo didn't have the swing and miss capability, but we're talking about the win probability added. So when he enters the ball game, this is lockdown central. But is there any sort of like, I would really like to have that dominance factor as well as the efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, whenever I get worried, I kind of text Hedges a little bit. I was like, and I asked him in the offseason, I was like, why haven't you guys worked on a changeup with him? He's like, just shut up and let us do our job. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. That's fair. So
I just did the math, by the way. It's 16 and a half pitches per inning this season is the average.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It really is. You just figure one of those 4 days he'd be so far off that he would throw 25 pitches or 30 pitches in a game. Like, it happens. He's had a couple of those this year, but it really is incredible what he's done. And, you know, your guy Voter is...
Well, that was going to be my next question, Rosie, is you have watched what Tito built, what Tito procured in terms of culture, and there was a lot of folks who were cautiously optimistic and even, dare I say, apprehensive even when I first got to Cleveland and for the first trip this year. And they had incredible stories about how they felt initially and what they were feeling in that moment, where they had gone emotionally from, are we really going with a first-time manager after to replace a Hall of Fame? Like, is this seriously what we're doing? And how do you feel about it now? Because I believe you've got a decent relationship with Voter. I know Voter really well. I've talked to him about, the goings on and the transition into managing, and now at this point in the season, how things are going. How nice is it to be able to take the breath you have now with Stephen Vogt at the helm and the way things have gone? And what were your initial predictions? How have those been met, or how have those been surpassed? Or if they have?
Well, I have a very good relationship with Voter. I mean, part of the reason he's got this bobblehead is because of, he came on to our show doing this skit with Johnny Gomes up at Fenway, over a decade ago. And so we became friends. And when I found out that he was up for the job, I called him and he answers in a real quiet voice. I was like, dude, what's going on? He goes, you can't tell anybody, but I'm flying for my second interview, Rosie. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I said, so this really could happen. He goes, I think it could. And so to have one of your good buddies in baseball end up managing your favorite team, you have no idea what I was going through. I was like, oh my God. People in Cleveland were panicking, because Tito's leaving. Like, what's going to happen? They didn't know shit about Stephen Vogt. And I would get on these radio shows in town. I would listen, y'all have to trust me. I don't think we could have handpicked a better guy to replace Terry Francona. I said, he is going to match wits with Tito. He is going to, and this is, whether you want to believe it or not, this is a big part of the job, the media side of it. I know that Cleveland's not New York or Boston or Philly or anything, but you still have obligations before and after the game. He's going to ace that part of the exam. And I said, I've had him on the Rose rotation. I asked him 2 years ago. I said, I don't advocate for any manager to lose their job, but let's say somebody got fired. This is while he was still playing. I said, if they got fired today, could you manage a team tomorrow? And he said, absolutely. He goes, and I want to try and fall flat on my face. He goes, but I honestly believe I could do it and do a great job. So he knew he had the confidence while he was still playing. It wasn't like, yeah, you know what? I really would like a shot. He's like, yeah, I could do it right now. And that was freaking awesome. I loved hearing that. And he's been great. Now, there are people, lately it's gotten squirrely with the, with the bullpen management. And it's been tough. But then again, what fans like the way that their manager handles the bullpen? It's like play calling in the NFL.
Not until the dust settles.
Nobody's like, oh, that was a great move. And managing the bullpen is the hardest thing to do in this sport because you don't know who's dealing with what. Shoulder's a little bit achy. I'm not feeling great, particularly at this time of year. We just talked about the number of appearances that the top 4 guys have in the Cleveland bullpen. So, why are we running out Nick Sandlin in pressure situations? Well, because he has to. Because there's nobody else left, and because our starter's flying after 3 1/3. What the hell do you think we're going to do? So, Voter's done an incredible job. I will be disappointed at this point if they don't make the playoffs. And once we get in, who the hell knows? Crapshoot. We're going to be an underdog to anybody we play. I firmly believe that. Nobody will believe in us, and I like it that way. I'm digging it.
Unless you play the Sox.
We'll still be an underdog.
We're up against the clock.
Still be an underdog.
I don't know about that. Yeah. I don't know about that. No one.
I got 4 minutes, Jared. I got 4 minutes. We're good.
We interrupt this conversation with our beloved friend Chris Rose to tell you about Manscaped. Dallas, I feel like this is right up your alley, you hairy son of a bitch. You are disgusting.
Or just certain areas.
You are so unpleasurable to look at. Yeah, the folks at Manscaped, they're always doing it big though. They are. I mean, you've seen their ads all over the place. Happy that they're with us here at Baseball is Dead. I can't imagine why they selected us, Dallas. Can't imagine why they were interested in coming over here, Dallas. I mean, I know that Jay Hay shaved his beard a couple days ago. It was about a week ago at this point.
That was like 2.5 weeks ago. Don't
yeah,
be
right, dude. I got great growth coming in. You guys are fucking
wow.
Jay Hay, you remember when Jay Hay shaved the night before opening day? And
yeah, he's got some sprinkles on his face. It looks like he fell in the dirt.
You know what? You know what we're gonna do now?
What's up?
I know we're working on the mustache thing for me, so that's priority number one.
Mm-hmm.
But after we do that challenge, well, no, you guys are cowards. You guys won't do it. I was going to say
shave the beard. Well, have
to
like
shave
a grow
and see
off?
who grows it back fastest.
Oh,
see,
me. I would be me.
Why? Because you got that darker color. You think you're coming in hot.
Yeah, I mean, we already know it's not you. And with Dallas,
right,
I feel
dude,
like his
we don't
is
know
more
shit.
Scraggly. Like I just have like a man's beard.
You want to know what happened? So this is how quickly it grows for me. I went a day where I shaved my mustache with no guard, and then 2 days later, you couldn't even tell.
Look at that. Look at that. That's good stuff.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's pretty good. Not terrible. But here's the thing, Jay Hay. Do you want your grooming routine to be a one and done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over thanks to our friends at Manscaped. They've come up with the ultimate package to keep your hairs trimmed from 12 to 6. It's like a curveball. Introducing the Beard and Balls bundle featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger, a trimmer for the moneymaker and another for the boys downstairs. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BID at manscaped.com. That is 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BID at manscaped.com for the premium grooming experience. You got to trust Manscaped with this. They're pros. They know what they're doing. Also, I feel like Dallas, you're one of those, you do like a lot of things in the shower, like outside of just cleaning your body. Well, good news for you, pal. The lawnmower and the beard hedger are also waterproof, so you can handle your beard grooming right in the sink or the shower without worrying about water damage. With up to 60 minutes of runtime. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I could see Dallas being like Kramer in the Seinfeld episode where he's like, pruning lettuce or whatever, eating, drinking in the shower. I could see that being his life, kind of his morning routine.
Beer.
Yeah.
Mini a shower beer.
He does too many things about it in the shower or in my shower. Anytime we're on the road, I'll wake up and this fucking guy's just in my bathroom. It's like, dude, you have your own. Like, you literally have your own bathroom. Like, he just likes to spend time in mine. The amount of times that I've been on the road with Dallas and he's broken into where I stay is alarming. It's multiple times. Like, we're not talking like a handful of times. It's like, it's multiple times that he's done this. I'll just get out of the shower or and I open up the door and he's just sitting there in the cuck chair. We all know what the cuck chair is in a hotel room. He's just sitting there like a psycho stalker. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BID at manscaped.com. That is 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BID at manscaped.com. No more juggling multiple tools or dealing with subpar results. Just efficient, effective grooming whenever you need it. Back to the interview. All right. Well, I was going to say, because Dallas, we should probably hit Rosie with the hot tub time machine question.
Has he never?
No.
All right, Rosie. Suds it up. Grab your speed.
Do I have to take my shirt off for this?
If you want to.
Fucking better.
It's not good right now, guys. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah, you got that taco meat hanging out the top there. Easy, pal. Easy. All right, Rosie. You're speedoed up. You got Crisco all over that butterball, and you're about to jump into a hot tub time machine. And you can go back into any moment in baseball history, and witness this moment. Which moment and why?
Okay. Well, the easy ones I think are obviously Hank Aaron, 7:15, wanting to be there, wanting to enjoy that moment. I won't spin it back to 1948, the last time that my beloved franchise won it all, because I don't know if like they were celebrating the way that we do. I would like to do,
and it wouldn't mean anything to you as much because you wouldn't have had that personal connection to that particular team.
No. I think I would like to. But I will make it a Cleveland-centric one here. I narrowed it down to 2 moments, and one is going to be the last time Cleveland threw a no-hitter, which happened to be Len Barker's perfect game. I was not at it, and everybody in Cleveland claims to have been there, and the attendance was like 3,072 people in old Cleveland Stadium, Cleveland Municipal Stadium. But I remember getting home from dinner that night, and my brother and I were watching the game. We put it on in like the 4th. And I remember telling him, I was like, Pete, I don't think they have a hit. I don't think they've gotten on base. He's like, shut up, you moron. It's like, you can't, like back then we were all worried about jinxing it. And like, that was the highlight of my Cleveland career until the then Indians made the playoffs in 95. So like, I would love to go back and say I was there. That would be cool. And I would like to go back to October of 85 and be like an invisible man behind Don Denkinger at first base and tell him that he missed the call. Because I still think that that's one of those, like, the Cardinals would ended up probably winning the World Series. Instead, George Orta makes it first base. They end up winning that game, and I think the Royals won 11-0 in Game 7. And I always felt like it was kind of unfair for Don Denkinger. If it had happened today, we reverse the call, we move on. I would have liked to have been there and just kind of been the invisible umpire, been like, he was actually out, and it's not close. Not close. So there you go.
I know it would be masochism, but were you at Game 7 in 2016? Like, even though it was a loss, wouldn't you have wanted to have been there?
I was at a, but
okay, all right. So
I was covering all the games. Our oldest son turned 16 on November 1st. I promised him I would pull everybody out of school and fly them to Cleveland if the series got back to Cleveland, whether we were up 3-2 or down 3-2. We were up 3-2. They flew in, the 3 of them. We got blown out in Game 6. We're all depressed because we think we have no shot in Game 7. We're down 6-1. We scored 2 runs on the pass on the wild pitch. The Rajai Davis home run, I literally blacked out, screaming at the top of my lungs. We had people, it wasn't like Theo and Jed Hoyer, but it was like the next level of executives. We were in Mike Napoli's family suite, okay, watching the game. We are next to a bunch of Cubs executives, and I started screaming at the top of my lungs bad shit about Aroldis Chapman that I would have been embarrassed if it had been caught on a microphone. Yelling at the top of my lungs. People they're looking, my wife is grabbing me. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you work for a network. Clean your shit up. And we end up losing, right, in extra innings. We're walking back to our hotel. My son, who's about to go to college, but he's only 11 at the time, is holding my hand, and he looks up at me and he goes, Dad, it sucks we lost, but at least we were all here together. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, God damn.
Jesus.
I'm like, it's okay, buddy. I'm like, it's not bad enough we just lost the World Series. Now you give me that one. So we got that. So
you've just undressed Aroldis Chapman for 20 minutes.
I mean, my wife still brings that up about how embarrassed she was like, what is the matter with you? Seriously, I lost my shit. When people say they black out, I think that was one of my blackout moments.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I would pay a premium to see that footage. Just because I'm sure it was all merited too. It's not like you're berating a good guy.
Yeah, no, it was
It
was well deserved.
It wasn't misguided, Rosie. That's not what you're getting here. It wasn't misguided.
Well, whenever we're watching the Octobox on our screen of all the games and Chapman comes in and she kind of pokes her head and she starts suffering a little PTSD from it. She's like,
she hears the ringing in her ears and she zones out and goes back to 2016.
Yeah, so she doesn't like him for many, many reasons. One of them is the immature reaction of her husband of 27 years.
It's all right. We ride with Mama Rosie.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all had those moments. I mean, God knows Pablo Sandoval hasn't been seen since. But Chris Rose, I actually had to, I got called up by my producer yesterday because I was doing the Jimmy Fund telethon and they put a graphic up on the screen and they were like, all right, we're going to go to all the former Jimmy Fund captains. And I was like, okay, Daniel Bard, Clay Buchholz, Brock Holt, skipped right over Sandoval. I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, I just didn't even say his name. They're like, that was intentional. I was like, I didn't see it. I was like, it's on a screen. It's far away. I don't know what you want me to say about that.
Intentional.
But, you know, it is what it is.
Intentional.
We all have our mess ups on television.
Yeah, we do. Some of us have a long list.
Human. We're human.
Yes, we are.
You know. But Chris Rose, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you're a busy man. Check out the Chris Rose rotation. Baseball today. Yeah. What are you about to record right now?
Baseball today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know,
because it is a new day.
It is a new day, so we try and put one out today, for instance.
There you go.
Daily.
Yeah. We'll go with today, guys. We'll go with this was fun though. I'm really happy we were able to do this. Jake, I was happy I could get a couple words out of you. Thank you for participating.
Yeah.
Justin,
he never shuts the fuck up.
Awesome meeting you. Dallas, I've known.
Hey, likewise. Thank you.
Dallas, I've known you a long time. Back when we did the show when I was at Fox, I think it was Cheap Seats or whatever it was called. You used to come on a ton when we did it. It wasn't Zoom. What was it? It was what was the other? Skype.
Not Skype.
Yeah, it was Skype.
It's Skype.
So we did Skype back. That's where I got bamboozled by Brian Wilson's machine.
Yes, the machine.
On that show. Could you imagine if that had happened today, in today's world?
People wouldn't bat an eye. He'd be even more of a hero.
Well, we were just talking about that, and we were like, it would either be viral and as massive and positive as could be, or you might not be able to go out.
One of the two. You know, so here's what happened. That was a show that was shot for FoxSports.com. So just the internet side. I had to convince the people. I was like, guys, we've got something here that I don't think anybody has ever done before. They looked at it and they were like, yeah, we're not so sure we can put that out. Now they would be like, let's go.
Yeah, put that on social now.
Exactly. We're just going to run it on FS1 for an hour on repeat. You know?
Yeah. Zoom in on his midriff and clip that. All right.
Exactly. Let's send it to TMZ on top of it. So.
Yeah. It was Pat Burrell, right?
No comment.
Don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
No comment.
All
I can tell you is the next on Saturday, I had a Giants Padres game, and I walk in the clubhouse before the game, and the guy who allegedly was the machine and never really talked to me comes up and just shakes my hand. Doesn't say anything, just shakes my hand and walks away. Every Giant started laughing at me the minute I walked in. I had to go meet with Bochy. Even he was laughing at me.
Oh, God.
That's pretty good. Like, they got you real good, didn't they? I'm like, yeah, they got me, Bochy. They got me. All right, boys, this was fun. I appreciate the time.
Anytime.
Rosie, we'll see you, brother.
All right, big thanks to Christopher Rose for coming on. Baseball is dead today. The Wednesday hot seat continues. As of this moment in time, we do not know who the guest will be for next week, but that's usually something we decide upon at the conclusion of our Thursday episode. I don't know. I don't really have anyone in mind. I mean, I feel like it's whoever's at the forefront of my brain, where I'm just like, we should try this person. And then we haven't gotten to know yet. So what about you guys? You guys have any suggestions? Anyone that you think would be a good fit?
Yeah, there's someone that was ready to come on. Remember when we first started doing this, I told you I could reach out. I did that day. They were like, yeah, let me know. When?
I don't remember. Do I know who this is?
You do.
Can I have the first initial?
One of Jay Hayes' favorite players.
Harold Baines? Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yes. So I actually just talked to both of the folks over at that podcast in particular. And they invited me to go to New York to go on their show. I can't swing it this weekend. I want to fucking go on that show.
Yeah,
but pulling a New York City trip, I can't do it this fucking weekend. I'm pissed. But yeah, that'd be cool. Be like, all right, you come on here, and then we'll figure it out from there. Maybe do a little home and home action. You know. Actually, you know what, Dallas? I feel like I can't. I'll have Jake bleep it. But I got a very interesting Instagram DM the other day from somebody.
Oh.
This person DM'd me and they said, "Hey, would love if you got in touch with my manager. Let's talk about opportunities." And I said, "Okay." I haven't spoken yet to this individual. Maybe I'm gonna do it today. I don't know. Wednesdays are super busy for me. But if not today, then tomorrow. But that individual is none other than. So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck he has in mind. But I know we have something in mind that we discussed. So yeah, let's talk opportunities, baby. Let's talk those opportunities.
Oh, what, for you and him?
No, for us and him and us.
Oh, yeah, no, that I'll probably be washing my hair that day.
Well, no, because
Oh. Yeah,
yeah, you don't have to participate. I mean, but we'll see.
It would just be a physical altercation, that's all.
That's fine. That's what we want.
No
That's what we want. I think you'd win.
Not saying that. I'm just telling you that
This guy does
that's where we're
jujitsu,
at.
right? You do jujitsu?
That has nothing to do with it.
Oh, you're trying to tell me that you wouldn't be able to win a fight because of what you know from jujitsu classes?
I'm not telling you that.
I took jujitsu classes.
How'd that go?
Pretty good. I think, what did I do? I hurt myself. Oh, my hip. That's what I did. I popped my left hip and I was out for like 6 weeks. And then by the time I wanted to go back, the instructor that I was most comfortable with, he didn't go to that gym anymore. So I was like, I don't know if I want to go back and pick it back up with like a complete stranger. Like I was comfortable with him. But
was it your hip popping out that made you so comfortable with him?
Yeah. Or the other way around. My hip popped out because I was so comfortable with him.
You were just so loose, it just popped?
Yeah.
I'm sure you could find somebody else to relax you.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm looking for a good relax session.
Yeah.
Are we talking jujitsu or relaxing?
Yeah.
Both.
It's all about finding the right guy to put you in the right position, Jared. That's all.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah. I just wasn't in the right position that day.
Wow.
Changed the course of history forever.
Damn. Sliding doors with this jujitsu relaxing guy for you and him. What could have been?
Great guy. Great guy.
Okay.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. Sure.
So there's nobody else you could roll around with? It was just you and him?
Yeah. I mean, we had the gym to ourselves.
What is going on? Was this jujitsu? Is this code for something?
No.
Yeah, it has to be. It
What do you
has to
mean?
be.
No, it was a gym.
All I've heard is that you guys had the place to yourselves and he
Would
popped
you just
your
sign
hip
up
out.
for fucking 6 weeks of private lessons and you went once
Well, I
and he
didn't pay
fucking
him.
blew you out and
No,
then now you're done? You got to connect the dots here because how you're laying it out, it sounds like you signed up for jujitsu.
Well,
your boy bit you over, blew out the O-ring, and now you can't. You're out
O-ring.
on jujitsu, which is fine
My
if
hip.
that's where you're at. I just want to know how we got
I hurt
here.
my hip. It was my hip that I hurt. Yeah, I was friends with him before. I knew that he was
Now
an
we're not
instructor.
friends.
I knew that he was an instructor at this gym. And I think they were like closed on like a specific day of the week. So we went in when there was no one there because I was like, I don't want anyone to see this. I don't want anyone to see me learn. But then I got pretty good. And then I popped my hip. No, this was also like 2014, 2015, almost 10 years ago.
It's funny this comes up because I was just talking to Allie yesterday, reminiscing about when Barry Larkin used to come to town for ESPN, and he would say, "You want to meet me at the gym for boxing?" And we would meet at the ESPN gym, and he would give me one-on-one boxing lessons, training, whatever. I mean, I had a zero skill set, so it was from the ground up. And I just remember saying that was probably the hardest workouts I've ever had in my entire life, because typically whenever I would reach that sort of threshold, I just give up. I'm like, well, that's good enough for now. I'm like, I worked my ass off and now we're done with this workout. And instead, when you have a Hall of Famer taking time out of his day to bring you into the gym to do something like that with you, you find that your threshold is a little bit higher because you don't want to let somebody like that down. And at the end, I couldn't even feel my body, but no hip displacement. Just a lot of soreness. We should get back in the gym, Jared. I think you got to get
love that.
Jiu-jitsu. I get back to boxing. Then maybe we do a Royal Rumble at the All-Star game next year instead of the Dinger Derby. We just all fight each other.
A BID MMA. I'm fucking down. A BID MMA tournament.
As things currently stand, I'm way out on that idea. But if I get back into boxing for the first time, for only the second time in my life, I will. I'll be down for sure.
Let's do it. Imagine that. Do some content together. Jay Hay and Jared go to jiu-jitsu.
Just get their asses.
Yeah, we just get the shit beat out of us.
Both going to the hospital with displaced hips.
I'm telling you, I'm watching this fucking kid that goes to that trains at my gym, and I haven't been able to roll since I had surgery. And I'm like, you watch, and I'm like, bro, this fucking little kid's gonna mangle me when I get back. Like, I don't want to fuck with this dude anymore. Like, a year ago, it's all good. Now, like, I'm. What day do you go? You go the morning? I think I'm switching to the afternoon classes. Yeah, schedule conflict.
I'm sick that day.
Yeah. Well, I come every day, man. So I'll see you. Fuck, sweet.
I'm just sick now. Yeah.
It's terminal. Sorry.
Well, White Sox beat the shit out of the Yankees the other night, which I took no pleasure in, by the way. I did not. That was not something I was. Even Yankee fans. It's weird this year where like Yankee fans are like, why aren't you shitting on us? And I'm like, well, because I can't, like, we're not ahead of you. We're not world beaters or anything. And then they were like, well, why aren't you shitting on the White Sox putting up 12 runs against us and beating our asses? And I'm like, well, because we split a series with the White Sox. How am I supposed to make fun of you for losing one game to the White Sox when we lost 2 in the same series to the White Sox? Can't do it, won't do it. I'm a man of integrity. So that won't be happening. But Juan Soto hit 3 home runs yesterday. He was basically accounted for the entire Yankee offense. I don't know, Jay Hay, where you fall on Juan Soto in the MVP conversation. I know he's not ahead of Judge. He's not ahead of Bobby Witt. He's kind of in that second tier, like the Gunnar Hendersons of the world. I guess, like, let me ask you that. Where would you slot Juan Soto? Is it third?
Yeah, I think it's currently third. I think his play recently has been superior enough to Gunnar's. I mean, and again, we're all splitting hairs, so, Orioles fans can't get mad about this. But like at this very moment in time, I would have him third. And I just, to that point, I just don't know how many instances there have been of a guy who was so clearly second fiddle on his own team and second fiddle in this, or third fiddle, fourth fiddle, whatever, in this, premier award conversation, who is having the type of season that Juan Soto has had. Like I know the last time there was a combination like Judge and Soto going on, and it was Ruth and Gehrig. But like in terms of narrative stuff, I don't know the last time where a guy was just so clearly just, as you said, the second tier of the conversation, but who had a 189 OPS plus or a league leading on base percentage. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, I know 3 homers brings him back into the spotlight and lets us appreciate him, which I'm glad we're getting the opportunity to do. But I just don't know if it's possible to appreciate what he's doing, given that he's just inevitably not going to get the hardware recognition for a season like this.
I think it forces you to have to appreciate on another level that you might not have been entertaining what the other 2 dudes are doing. That's what I think happens, is because you'll be able to look back and we'll be able to see how the season ends, and you're going to see the numbers that Juan Soto has put up, and you're going to go, Jesus Christ. And then from there, you're going to look at the other 2 dudes and go, but that's what was going on. Right now, when you line these 3 fellas up, Juan Soto leads in one category, and that's plate appearances. That's it. When it comes to WAR, check it for Judge. Soto's sitting at a 7.3, but Bobby Witt Jr. at a 7.7. When it comes to games, Bobby Witt Jr., he's 1 more than Aaron Judge. That's not a big deal, right? But you start to get into the numbers. Hits, he's third. Homers, he's got Witt beat. RBI, he's behind Witt. Stolen bases, Witt's got 20 more than him, 19 more than Judge. The average, check Bobby Witt. And then OBP, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, those all go to Judge. So as far as Juan Soto goes, you're comparing what he's doing to two dudes who are, it's an absolutely silly season.
Dude, Jared Dallas, how many podcasts ago was it when we talked about the idea that we could have 4 guys with like 8 or 9 win seasons? Gunnar, as we acknowledge, has fallen off the pace a little bit, but like Juan Soto is on pace to maybe get to 10. Win. He's at like this. You can't do it exactly like this, but he's got
years ago that we did a podcast about how many 10-win seasons have happened like in our lifetime. Like there's not many.
Dude, like, so we've played approximately 3/4 of the season right now, right? And we've got a quarter of it left. And at his current pace, he's at 7.3 entering today. If he maintained his current pace and stays healthy, he'd end up at 9.8. 9.8. And he may finish. He's almost certain to finish the like whatever. He could catch Bobby Witt in theory. He could catch one of Bobby Witt or Aaron Judge. The likelihood of him catching both is very, very low. So we're talking about a guy whose ceiling is probably the number 2 in the MVP right now, and he may finish with a 9 to 10 win season. It's remarkable. This is more subjective and narrative driven than anything else, but like, I wasn't real receptive to that initial kind of complaint by Padres fans where they were like, we're not getting the version of Juan Soto, quote unquote, that we thought we were getting when we acquired this generational player. And I was like, come on, man, you got like almost a 150 OPS, like damn near 900 OPS or OPS plus, damn near 900. He did his on base percentage thing. Now I'm more open to that idea because like that is his worst career performance was when he was in San Diego, indisputably at this point. And the leadership stuff, the locker room stuff is a conversation I don't really have a lot of interest in at this point. But like, you're now seeing him kind of fully formed kind of again in New York. And it's like, God damn it. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Jay, I know you might not be interested in that conversation, but I think it bears acknowledging because how many shadows were in the forest in San Diego that Juan Soto had to dance in and out of and around to be his own guy?
Yeah.
Now here in New York, there's really only one, and that shadow looms so large, you don't even really put yourself next to that building. That building's name is Aaron Judge. You can be Juan Soto and every bit of who Juan Soto is in New York while Aaron Judge just runs the show. You can be that dude. There, I feel like there was some jockeying of sorts in that position. Am I a leader? Am I a guy who's not going to be a leader and is just going to chill and let Toddy and let Manny do the leading? Like, who am I? And I think in the midst of that, without the production, there was a narrative that started to form around him that I do not think matched and I don't think fit. And to your point, that was the most lackluster productive season he's had. And I do think that had something to do with it. And watching him transition to who he is now in the realm that he's performing in, like that's why I said I don't know that Juan Soto ever puts on another uniform because what he's doing right now and what he's feeling right now.
I'm glad you said that because my follow-up to what you said was going to be that you don't always get a generational superstar player matched up with the team or the vibe or the surrounding players that perfectly like allow them to flourish, right? Or to be their full selves. Like this is not going to be a comprehensive list, but examples of what I'm talking about in recent baseball history, like Barry Bonds on the Giants. You talk about the supporting cast, but Barry in San Francisco and that whole scene that was flourishing, right? Like Bryce Harper on the Phillies is a current example where the player and the vibe and the team and the city have all aligned and they've been very, very successful, etc. I think Juan Soto is an example in New York, has been an example of that and could be an example of that moving forward. Like I am very happy. Can I drop a few historical nugs on you
I would love
guys
to
for
hear
Juan
the
Soto?
historical nugs. Yes,
Because
please.
like I'm glad we're giving him his moment in what's going to ultimately probably be Aaron Judge's season, quote unquote. The number of players who have a higher career on base percentage through their age 25 season, which is what he's doing now, so it's not over, is only 4 players in Major League Baseball history. And only one of those players has played since the game was integrated. And that's Mickey Mantle. So of all the players since the game took on the form and the composition that we are familiar with today, the only player with a higher career on base percentage through age 25 is Mickey Mantle. The only other two that I'm putting aside are Jimmy Fox and Archie Vaughn. The 8th highest adjusted OPS through age 25, behind only Cobb, Mantle, Trout, Fox, Pujols, Speaker, and Hornsby. So the only players who have played in what we'll call modern baseball are Mantle, Trout, and Pujols. Those are the only players we've seen. Anybody listening to this podcast, no matter how old they are, the only players they've seen who have been better by adjusted OPS through this age than Juan Soto are Trout, Pujols, and Mickey Mantle. That's just it. Like, I know we talk about him. I know we appreciate him, but man, it's, I'm really happy that he's back on this sort of trajectory, and that like what we saw last season wasn't like, oh, we're going to ride out with like, you know, the next decade of, you know, 5th and 6th and 7th MVP place finishes with really, really great, but not transcendental seasons. And instead what we've gotten is Juan Soto finding that form that it looked like he had right when he was coming up and the first few years of the Nationals that made it people point and say, that's a generational fucking player. And he is.
You know what's crazy to me is like Juan Soto has been playing baseball basically since the first ever Spikes Up tour, Dallas, to like put some historical perspective on how long ago that was. And he's only 25.
Well, I was just going to say, Jared, we're having this conversation right now, and who's at the tip of this spear, per se? It's Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge at 32 years old. The 3 contemporaries that we're discussing in the conversation with him, the oldest one is 25, and it's Juan Soto. That is fucking remarkable. That is what you should be excited about if you're a baseball fan, because Jay just put into context what sort of season and what sort of accumulation Juan Soto has put together. And he's 25, competing with a man in Aaron Judge who's had seasons under his belt to learn the game, to adjust to the game, to now he's forcing the game to adjust to him. He's on his own speed. But we've got 3 dudes in Soto, Witt, and Gunnar in the American League. In the American League that are part of this conversation right now. That gives you the notion that they could be a part of this conversation for years to come, like Aaron Judge has been. Baseball has never been in a better fucking spot with talent, man.
And
so
dripping with talent.
Let me spin it to you like this then. What's more of an egregious fail if the Yankees don't win at all with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto being 1-3 in the MVP race, or pick your favorite Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani season where like they didn't win? Like, which one is more of a fail?
Oh, that's.
Oh,
go ahead.
I got to believe it's Shohei and Trout.
Yeah, because Shohei
There's
fucking
no
pitches
question.
too. Yeah.
Well, there's no question. I mean, you're talking about a dude who, I always say this about Mike Trout, right? Better than half the dead guys in the Hall of Fame. And that was the case fucking 5 years ago for the dude. And what Shohei was capable of while he was there, what he was doing while he was there, for you to not be able to figure out how to supplement that. You got the 2 greatest baseball talents to ever grace a field, for fuck's sake. And you can't figure that out. That is egregious, because it took acquiring Juan Soto, bringing him over, and having all of this start to happen. Like, Shohei was there. He was your goose. So was Trout. You had a decade with Trout to figure out how to go about that. And you had multiple years with Shohei to figure out how to go about that. And you just couldn't. So as it sits right now, Juan Soto and Aaron Judge haven't had that time to play it out and I guess really expose the fact that, hey, if you would have just put X here and Y there, we'd be dancing with a ring. They just haven't had that time yet.
I love the question. The answer is and always will be Trout and Ohtani. because the Yankees, for all the flaws and the fire directed at Brian Cashman and Boone and stuff like that, the Yankees will be in a position to bring a World Series championship home this season. They are going to make the playoffs. They will have their chance. They are going to be in the conversation. And they presumably, if they re-sign Juan Soto, will be in the conversation more often than not for the duration of Juan Soto's contract / Aaron Judge's prime on that team. The Angels never even came fucking close to putting them in the conversation or the opportunity to bring that home. Like, people are like, oh, Trout hasn't made the postseason since he failed that one time in 2014. What has Ohtani done in the postseason? Like, this isn't basketball, as a reminder. Like, one singularly great player cannot get a baseball team to the playoffs. It just doesn't work like that. Like, It didn't work like that with Prime Barry Bonds, and it's not going to work like that with any of these players either. So that multiple regimes of Angels front office groups could not bring that over the edge and even give that duo a chance means that it's them, and it's always going to be them. There's nothing that could happen with Soto and Aaron Judge other than making the World Series like 10 straight seasons and losing all of them.
Yep.
And that would only be like more like heartbreaking, I guess, as it wouldn't even necessarily be a more egregiously bad job done.
Either way.
But this is not exactly what you asked, but what we're seeing from Judge and Soto right now is, if you put the pitching part of Ohtani aside, which I know is a little bit unfair, but just in terms of like what those two were doing on offense, it's better than anything we ever saw from Ohtani and Trout together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, those dudes, after the first year and a half together, couldn't stay on the field together.
Yep. Which is obviously a key part of the story, for sure.
Speaking of how great Judge and Soto are, you might want to go get some tickets and go see these guys, because it might be the only season you're ever going to see them on the same team. You want to go witness history? A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in the Bronx? Download the Game Time app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer that it gets the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Dallas, the last home game at the Collie is sold out officially?
That's the rumor.
I believe I did see that. I believe the game is sold out.
Good luck.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going for on the
there is a
secondary prices.
There is a small grassroots effort to try to bring people together to clean up the third deck, because the upper deck has been closed. And so it's in an effort to try to get the A's to remove the tarps. You do that, I believe there's roughly 15 to 20,000 more seats available.
20?
Something like that, I think.
Damn.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, you might as well. Why not? What are you saving it for?
Well, in all honesty, I don't know shit about it, but I got to imagine for as long as the upper deck has been closed.
It probably hasn't been tested.
I don't know how viable just the structure is. I don't know that you'd be able to service people the way you would need to.
From what I've seen, people get plenty of service in those upper decks at the Oakland Coliseum.
There is plenty of room to service people. I'm just, maybe as far as nutritional sustenance is concerned.
Got it.
And we can even go down that road. Yes, there's nutritional sustenance being served in the upper deck as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on Survivor, I'm sure you could just catch a rodent and roast it on an open flame in the upper decks. No one's going to care. So
closer to the seals.
Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section and you let Game Time choose the seats for you. They've got all-in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your tickets are covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry today. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, Use the promo code BID for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price. And you know that it's guaranteed. You know that. We don't have to go over that part because you know that. What we do have to go over, though, we've got some really good teams throughout Major League Baseball that are really hot right now. Really, really hot right now. And they are the usual suspects. The Houston Astros, they've won 7 straight games. I went back. I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or not, if I looked this up in my spare time, but since they were 12 games under 500, they have the best record in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The D-backs in the NL West, the D-backs have won 5 straight games. The Dodgers have also won 5 straight games. The math ain't mathin' for me, I guess, because the Dodgers have won 5 straight. The D-backs have won 5 straight. The Padres have won 2 straight. They are 9-1 in their last 10, but the distance is the exact same. It's 3.5. It's 3.5 for Arizona. It's 3.5 for San Diego. So even though the Dodgers finally are trying to find that second gear now, they have Mookie Betts back. Mookie Betts homered in his first game back. That was on Monday night. We haven't recorded since that happened. But that is quite the race, and it is maintaining the hype. It's not like the Dodgers are falling to the Padres and D-backs. The D-backs and Padres are playing really good fucking baseball right now. Like that's all 3 teams are playing really good baseball right now. We are seeing undeniably, not even arguably, undeniably the best race or the most exciting race outside of the AL East, I guess, happening in the NL West. Only this one is 3 teams, not 2.
Well, go back to, what was it, 2021, right? When the Dodgers and Giants were battling for seemingly a month straight over the course of, I think it was like over the course of 35 games or something like that. There had been exactly 1 game worth of shift in the standings over 35 games.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. Not that specifically to that extent, but that's what's happening right now is you've got 3 good teams playing really good baseball all at the right time. So creating separation, closing the gap is proving to be very difficult. Very difficult.
That San Francisco Dodger race was fucking bananas. We don't talk about that one enough because neither team.
No, it gets overlooked, man. It does. It gets overlooked, and that was just such an incredible run because the Giants were putting. That's when they had taken flyers on guys in their rotation. Alex Wood, one of those dudes. Guys just had incredible years. The offense came alive. They set a fucking franchise record for wins. I mean, it was a magical year for the Giants. But yeah, a moment where, I mean, I don't know, in historical context, how strange that is to have happen or how random that might be. But to have 2 teams separated by a game, maybe, and play that kind of baseball where after a month, that's still the case. It is. It's just more intriguing now that you've got a couple more teams factored into this equation. And because the race is so tight, it feels like, how we talk about in football, whoever has the ball last, basketball possession, same type of stuff. Like here, it's like whoever goes on that last run. And I'm not saying that this is one of those last runs. I think there's probably another 7 or 8 or 9 game streak or so in these teams. And whoever has that last one, obviously timing's going to matter. That's going to be the separator or the gap closer, however you look at it.
I think I kind of posed this question to you guys the last time that this came up in a certain way of like, who has the best chance of catching the Dodgers? And I think we mostly agreed on the Padres. This is when Joe was here because I think Joe was all in on the Padres. But let me ask it to you this way: do you think that the Dodgers will get caught, not surpassed? I'm not saying that the Dodgers won't win the division, but we've got a month and a half to go here. At some point, both teams at 3.5 back, will they get caught?
Oh man,
I'll say no.
The only thing I think that could have the Dodgers stumble is just to have some missteps in their rotation.
Well, we're going to see whether one of those we're going to see how one of those steps goes because Walker Buehler returns today, pitching for the first time in almost 2 months. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see if nothing else. I'm saying no though, because I don't want to be a hater. This feels what we've witnessed from the Padres and D-backs over the last month plus feels like the punch. Like it feels like if the Dodgers withstood this,
yes,
and it's not over, but it does feel like they wobbled. The lead's half of what it was, but they have righted the ship. It looked like they could have closed the gap entirely a week ago. They righted the ship since then. So I'm going to go with no. I also, to your point, like, listen, it's one player. I get it. You almost can't have a return that's more important than Mookie Betts returning to this team. I don't care which position he's playing, really. He's one of the 5 or 6 best players in the sport. And we didn't overlook the fact that they were missing him, but, he's back. And I think that has a cascading effect on the rest of the roster too, as we discussed, from guys who are really more bit players than close to everyday guys, or even really everyday platoon players getting overexposed a little bit. So I'm going to go with no.
That's a correct answer. I feel.
Thank
I feel
you.
like
Oh God, I nailed it. Nice.
I feel like anytime that there is a race, a divisional race, more so a divisional than a wild card. If there's a divisional race where it gets tight and the team that's in first place is the team that we all know should be in first place, and we get a little excited and we're like, "Ooh, are they gonna get past?" Like, how often does that actually happen? It doesn't, especially when it's a team like the Dodgers that have been there and done that. I think, if you have a team that's in first place and it's like, this is our first rodeo, like we're the young, hungry team and we're exceeding expectations, but then the veteran team that's been there and done that is gaining on us, then yeah, like that team might get past. But I think the Dodgers experience and just the fact that they're the Dodgers, I don't, even if it's temporarily, I don't see them getting past.
Like I kind of look at some of the moves that the Dodgers made, and we've talked about this, like, going and reacquiring some of the talent that they've had in the past, and then, making their peace with that, parting ways with that in the return of Mookie Betts. I mean, I think that may have signaled just a bit of like, not panic, but hey, we know we're deep. Don't know if we're deep enough. Don't know how deep we are. Don't know if we're comfortable with the depth that we have. So we're going to need to try to grab a couple guys out there and see what sticks, because we don't know how long the Mookie thing's going to be. And we know he's coming back, but if he comes back, what's that going to look like? So that's why I think I turned my focus to the rotation, because of the return of Walker Buehler. If we have missteps there for the Dodgers, I don't know how confident they are there to be able to find somebody to plug and play that gives them that same confidence when you get a guy like Mookie Betts back.
I'm sure there have been instances. I don't recall one off the top of my head where a team acquired a guy that in hindsight was so clearly just a multi-week Band-Aid in Ahmed Rosario. Like they were like, the Dodgers brought back Ahmed Rosario. What a weird trade deadline move. And then, the Dodgers designated Ahmed Rosario like 2 weeks later. So, okay.
Yeah.
Along with the Mookie Betts stuff, the other thing that should be mentioned, and another reason why I'm optimistic that the Dodgers pull this one out, is because they're also getting Max Muncy and Tommy Edman, quote unquote, back, at least back in the case of Max Muncy. Probably the latest reporting is as soon as Monday. Obviously that has some built-in wiggle room with the phrasing, but Max Muncy and Tommy Edman are very important to what this team is trying to do offensively and with their versatility, and for Muncy, just straight up production. So I think there's a real chance that by the time we're recording this podcast at this time next week, that we're looking at that Dodgers lineup and being, okay, I get this looks a lot better to me.
Looks a little longer these days. Mookie and Max back a little longer. Yeah, Max Muncy actually, just had his rehab assignment last night, I believe, against the Las Vegas Aviators, squaring off against Oakland's own Max Muncy. Believe it or not, both individuals born on the same date, if you remember. The other thing, not a huge hit, I guess, but I think could be something glaring if Treinen is not able to get back and get right. Losing Brusdar Graterol is that's not good. After he just got back, he's probably done with the hamstring. That's a hit that they're going to have to take.
He's mid.
Have to sustain. They're going to
figure
out a way to help. Yeah, well, Dave Roberts seems to feel like he was going to be a big part of what they were going to do.
He can feel that way if he wants to, but Dallas, any comment on the Pirates losing 9 straight or no?
It's not ideal. It's not ideal. Not ideal. Not a great time right now for shit to not be working out. Not a great time for O'Neal Cruz to just not want to catch the baseball. It's this is not how you get to October, Jared. Simply put, not how you get to October. There's nothing to raise.
Just asking.
My fucking blood pressure.
I didn't know if we were trying to raise the spirits or anything.
No, right now we're just letting we're letting it ebb and flow.
No, we're not. We're lowering it. Yeah, we're lowering it, baby. It's lowered. It's done. Season's over.
Well,
tune in for skiing starts and then see you later.
About as low as they've been.
Yep. It'll be. I'm looking forward to Skiing's Day personally, but the that little bubble of hope that you created in Pirates Nation about what could be this season, I think they would have been wiser to just stick with J-Hay.
I don't.
Yep. We'll see you in 2025.
You putting a fork in him?
Yeah, I put a fork in him a long time ago, but I wanted to take a second with their 9-game losing streak to hear you put a fork in him.
Yeah. Writing's on the wall, man.
Yep. They weren't good enough.
That's too bad.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. Skeens is awesome. Can't wait for his start.
J.R. Jones is awesome.
He is.
Both guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
super awesome.
And they have dudes coming in the minors for that rotate. Yeah. It's going to be a great time. Maybe.
It's just not our year this year. That's all. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Happy about it?
No.
Not really.
Hey,
No.
jokes.
Not really. The experience gained? Excited about
Worth it.
I would say, jokes aside, that if we're putting a nail in the flag this year and lowering it down, bringing it down, if you're a Pirates fan and you have a big picture view of this team and are able to look past the disappointment of an active 9-game losing streak that has completely sunk what were already small postseason hopes, I feel like the takeaways are more good than bad this year, though, because like the number one most important thing was, how does Paul Skeens adapt to Major League Baseball, and what does Paul Skeens look like upon promotion? And you can't be any happier with how that looks. I know the injury issues have clouded what was, a breakout start to the season, but on the whole, I don't think anybody had higher expectations for Jared Jones quality-wise than a 3.56 ERA and 16 starts in his rookie season. So that has to be a huge win as well, at least as far as the Major League roster is concerned. And then I guess, not to call out Dallas's boy again, but to me, like the major remaining question mark here is does O'Neal Cruz have another step? Is he a central part of this team's offense, like a guiding force on the offense, or do they still basically not have that person anywhere near the Major League roster, which would be a huge problem, I think. I think he's as important to them and their 2025 hopes than any non-Skeens pitcher or any non-Skeens player on the team.
Look, your focus was, how does Skeens take the next step, right? How does he progress from the minor leagues into the big leagues? Question answered. Same thing with Jarren Jones. Question answered. I think to an extent. And then Mitch Keller, after getting breaded up, what do we got? So I think all those questions, answered to a degree. The one question that we still have is, what type of player is O'Neal Cruz? Who is he? We know who we want him to be. Who is he right now? Because he's a dude who possesses light tower power, incredible tools, but seemingly only brings like 1.5 to 2 of them to the ballpark at any given time, it feels like. So we need that to get better. We need the tool belt to get bigger. We need him to be able to carry all of the tools in the belt to the game every day. That progress has to happen. Henry Davis.
Yeah. I love Henry Davis, by the way.
Fuck.
I legitimately do. He's a great guy. I'm rooting hard for Henry Davis. He was a 1-1, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, a couple news and notes here. Jazz Chisholm is hurt. It's a UCL injury, did he get hurt on the tag?
Sliding. Yeah, sliding.
But I thought it was more like he got whacked with the glove with the ball in it, and that more so created the injury than the slide itself. Could be wrong.
That tore his UCL?
I don't know. It appeared to be a contributing factor. I don't know. I mean, again, not a doctor. I don't pretend to be.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy because you've got a guy in Shohei Ohtani who has played with a throwing arm elbow injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy John as a left-handed swinger, right-handed thrower, Jazz Chisholm. I mean, they're not putting lefties in the infield, so pretty sure Jazz Chisholm throws with his right hand, hits from the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's where it becomes interesting, like, the severity of the injury. You hope it's not something that keeps him out for the remainder of the season. That would be absolutely terrible, especially considering what Jazz Chisholm has done since showing up, hitting over 300, power on display. And he's played some FIFA out there on defense, but
I mean, it is, I don't want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to, what's the word where you're like bullshitting? I think it begins with a P. Hey, smart. You would know.
you don't want to lie?
No, like I don't want to sound disingenuous or sound like I'm not being genuous. What's the word I'm looking? What's the word?
Genuous.
What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for, Jay?
I'm pursuing that answer. I can't. You haven't quite led me there yet.
You're not being facetious?
Yeah. Maybe that's the word. Yeah.
Because that's...
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not being facetious. But, I mean, that is, like, Jazz Chisholm is a bit... put it this way. All right, here's what I want to say. The Marlins losing Jazz Chisholm, not a big deal. The Yankees losing Jazz Chisholm, kind of a big deal. He's been awesome for them.
Yeah.
He was very league average for Miami, but he's been awesome for the Yankees, and it feels like they've turned a corner kind of the second that he got there. I'm not going to give him all the credit for that, but the Yankees definitely took on a new identity once Jazz showed up.
Everything that I asked for to happen, happened. I want Jazz to show up. I want Jazz to be himself, and I want Jazz to be able to make an impact early. Because if he can be himself, it feels like that's a guy who is that much closer to making an impact that much quicker. Instead of him having to fall in line and figure out where he fits in the hierarchy and blah, blah, blah. No, throw on your belt, throw on your sweet fucking gear and hit bombs. And he did.
There you go.
Like I said, he was an absolute nightmare defensively, but
I mean, we talked about why the Yankees had the issues that they had. It's that, the players who are not the players that we spend all the time talking about have been below average to bad by the standards of Major League Baseball players this season. And, the report I know I saw, I think they're considering calling up Peraza to replace him on the roster, but like DJ LeMahieu is going to get more at bats if Jazz Chisholm goes down, and like DJ
thing.
LeMahieu looks very toast. And that's why they went out and got Jazz. So it is significant above and beyond maybe Jazz Chisholm's baseline value or name value or stuff like that.
Yeah,
we also spent 15 minutes talking about the impact he could or could not have on the Yankees culture of being big stiffs. And whatever value you place on that, or his ability to change it or not, that's also not probably going to happen if he's not playing. So,
right.
We all love players who aren't playing, But my understanding is that it's very tough for people in that position to be tone setters or leaders if you're not on the field day to day.
Yeah. Well, I tell you who's been setting the tone in Houston during this little stretch that they've been on. Couple dudes, Alex Bregman and Yordan Alvarez. Alex Bregman over his last 8 games, hitting 432, 475 OBP, 946 OPS. That's good for a 1420 or 946 slug. OPS. 1421. 5 homers, 8 RBIs, 4 doubles. And Yordan Alvarez during that time slashing 379 with a 526 OBP, 966. I mean, it's a 1492 OPS, 5 homers, 9 RBIs. He's raking. We talked about Alex Bregman being a guy that could very well put an offense on his back when he's hot. And I don't know that it's putting them on his back per se, but when he starts to get hot like this and you have to start to pick your poison and Yordan is behind him and you've got some other guys filtering in that are starting to swing the bat well, Caratini, Yanier Diaz, even Singleton, Caratini and Singleton in their limited action, you're starting to see the Astros lineup come to life again. And it's because
we looked at the numbers. It's Yordan and Bregman. Like Yordan is in Class A and Bregman's in Class B, and then the rest of the guys are just kind of there, at least over this run that they've been on.
Well, I mean, I would say that Yordan and Bregman are in the same class.
They're
like
not.
Those two.
They're not. It's like an
performing.
1100 OPS and an 800 OPS. Like you're talking about like the difference of Aaron Judge and like fucking Jorge Soler.
Alex Bregman has a 1421 OPS and Yordan Alvarez has a.
I'm talking about like since they were 12 games under to like now.
Oh yeah, I'm just talking about this last stretch. This 8-game stretch is what I looked at.
We homered what? Did
that's
Bregman homer in 3 straight? Was it something like that?
No. Yes. No. Yes.
Yeah. Bregman's hot. You're welcome. You're welcome, Astros fans. I fixed him for you.
Well, the rotation's been good too. Rotation's been really
great.
good these last 2 turns.
It's been great. Was Dallas not here for this conversation? Is this like, did Dallas have to like leave early or something?
Yeah, I thought we, whatever.
Dallas, how'd you like your birthday poem, by the way?
Oh, yeah, it was fantastic.
Thank you.
I read it by the fireside.
This is a nice poem, I thought. 4 videos in there.
Yeah.
Throughout the years.
Wow. What a ride it's been.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out your phone.
For taking the videos?
Yeah, for prompting it.
Yeah, I did.
You know, you open your photo, you're like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. Oh, okay.
So how old are you now? 41?
41, dog.
Wow. So, wow. When we started doing this, you were 2 years younger than I am now?
Yeah. Sounds that way.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah. Dallas has always been 40 in my mind. He's just like, I met him, he was 40, and he's just been 40 that whole time.
Yeah. I went from having like no family to a whole ass family.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure like the day that we announced and like Dave was holding up the laptop to get you on it, like weren't you like in the delivery room?
No, we did the podcast. We did our very first podcast.
I'm pretty sure you were still in the hospital when like Dave did like the announcement by like the water cooler and I was standing next to him and then he was holding up a laptop that you were on like FaceTime with.
Yes.
And then he's like, what's the baby's name? And then he thought you said baseball. He's like, baseball? You named your baby baseball?
Just keeping it on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quite a run.
Yeah. What a ride.
It's been great. Yeah. Thanks to all the, thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to all the other just random baseball fans that take note of what we do. Appreciate the birthday love. Very unnecessary, but Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. How was your birthday? What'd you do?
I discovered this, bro. For a ping pong aficionado like myself, I have found the greatest invention ever. It's not, rather, I've come across the greatest business ever. It's called Ping Pod. Ping Pod. These places are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no working attendant there. Everything is done. You log in, book your time, scan the code at the door, boom, door pops open. You walk in, locks behind you. They've got TVs, they've got food, they've got drinks, they've got all kind of shit going on. If you want any of it, you just walk up, QR code, and the rest is history. It's fucking epic. I spent 3 hours last night after the baseball game at Ping Pod, just fucking crushing.
Do you get charged by the hour or by the number of entries?
By the half hour. You book you can book book a half hour at a time, however many you need. Yeah. So I just booked a fucking 3 hour block and went at it. That's what I did for my birthday.
You would do something like that.
And some things got a little silly, I'll say.
I'm sorry.
As far as I'll go. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Just had a great time connecting with Mother Nature as well.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. Central Park. Nice walk through Central Park. Just
people die in there,
Yeah, it's cool. I had grapes though, and I had a herd of squirrels following me. So it was totally fine.
Are you sure the squirrels were actually there?
Oh, they were. They were following me. Yeah, I
know that's what you think. Yeah.
I bought fresh fruit, bought some grapes, threw one guy a little grape, boom. 2 more little guys come down. And then it dawned on me, it's like, I'm the fucking squirrel whisperer right now. So I wanted to see if the squirrels would follow me through the park.
And they did.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
I'm sure that made you really
you have no idea how connected. I almost, in my head, I was like, this is kind of like doing the Iditarod, but I don't have dogs and I'm not in snow and I'm not on a sled. It's just squirrels following me, but I kind of feel like I'm running the Iditarod. I know you don't know what that is, Jared. That's all right. It's a really long, cold race with dogs.
Oh, okay. I just pictured Dallas naked walking through Central Park, like looking at these imaginary squirrels that aren't actually there, just like feeding them grapes, but there's nothing in his hand. And everyone's just like shielding their children's eyes.
Oh, I'm really just teabagging a
brother, it was magical. There were all these squirrels. They were following me through Central Park, brother. You should have seen them. I had grapes. So many grapes. And I was just having the time of my life for my birthday. It's just Dallas naked in Central Park by himself, just feeding imaginary grapes. Tripping
Still
on
a blast.
acid.
Still a blast.
I mean, as long as you saw them, I guess it doesn't matter if they were really there.
It was incredible. And I don't have rabies. So
yeah. That's always a plus.
Debatable.
It's a win.
Anything else, Jay? Hey, you wanted to hit on?
I got a final thought.
Please.
We're there? Are we there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to use my final thought for Hunter Green. Who shoved again yesterday. He now has a 0.98 ERA over his last 7 starts. His ERA is 2.83 overall this season. And his NL ranks as of today, he's first in B-WAR. This is among pitchers, obviously. First in B-WAR, 4th in F-WAR, 5th in innings pitched, 3rd in ERA, and 1st in opponent batting average. I know Chris Sale is the favorite for the NL Cy Young as things currently stand, but I think Hunter Green has, through the end of June, he had a 3.7 ERA and was not in this conversation. The last 2+ months or month and a half have firmly planted him in the conversation, even if he's maybe not the front runner. And I just feel like, I guess the answer is that he plays for one of the smallest market teams in the sport, who's not really relevant in terms of the playoff picture. But Hunter Green was a number 2 overall pick who was like a mega prospect coming out of high school or whatever. And it's not like his ascension up, the minors was it didn't take very long. So it's not like we had time to forget about him necessarily. I don't know. I just feel like typically this sort of player's ascension into a true ace gets discussed more. And it occurred to me last night that we had not discussed him at great length. We have discussed him on and off this season. But you know, the run he's on right now over those 7 starts that I was talking about with the 0.98 ERA, 20 hits allowed and 53 strikeouts in 46 innings pitched. 20 hits allowed in 46 innings pitched. He's the second youngest player ever to have a 7-start stretch like this, behind only Flaherty in 2019. And we remember how nasty he was when he first burst onto the scene. So that's my little love for what Hunter Green's doing.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, because I started diving in on Hunter Green as well. He had 3 blow-up outings this season. He's had 3. If you take those 3 outings away, those were against Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and the Cubs, all division rival or all division opponents. But if you take that out, his 2.83 goes down to a 1.98. And I found this to be interesting, to your point about the 20 hits over the span of time he's on right now in the 50-plus innings. The batting average with his 2.83 ERA is at 185, and it would go down to just 175. So not a huge decline, but that tells you just how fucking dominant the dude has been. Like you just don't hit this guy. Like you said, Jay, top 5 in WHIP. Top 5 in innings pitched, 7th in K per 9 with 10.7 or 10.17. He's got a third of an inning less of work than Chris Sale.
Well,
so when we start to talk about like the body of work and innings accumulation, dominance therein, I think what Hunter Green has done is right along that vein. And when you talk about the progress of a young kid like him, 6 innings or more 17 times this season. All right. He had 8 of those outings last year and only 9 of those outings in 2022. And here he is right now with what, 5-6 starts maybe left ahead of him, maybe 7 or so. Here he is with 17 outings of 6 innings or more.
I just like, he also like aesthetically, he throws 98, 99 as
very
like
easily.
a big horse starting pitcher. Like, I'm not going to say his repertoire is exactly like Skeen's, but there are enough similarities here between what's going on with these guys that I just feel like the hype gap on Hunter Green has just it's fallen for some reason. Like he's got the slider with the big swing and miss. He throws a splitter. He's got the 99 fastball. It's just, whether he finishes 2nd or 3rd, or hell, man, over those 7 starts Dallas is talking about, maybe he could win the thing. That he's developed into a Cy Young caliber frontline guy, is a game-changing thing for the Reds, who obviously desperately and have needed a pitcher like that for, it feels like, my entire life, really. Like, I mean, honestly, how many true ace number 1 pitchers can you think of that have participated for the Cincinnati Reds over the last 3? Who? No, that's part of the problem, is that he's way too high up the list. Wade
Miley.
Also not that guy. I mean, Johnny Cueto should get a real mention here, but like, it's not a franchise that has churned out players of that profile with any regularity at all. So that's also cool to see.
Dallas, final thoughts?
Yeah, A's are playing great baseball. That's it. I don't have anything else to say. I've said all I need to say.
All right, cool. I'm glad that, keep it to that statement. That's fine. Jake's takes.
I'm just glad Dallas got to see some squirrels on his birthday. I was really worried he wasn't going to be able to, but glad to hear that worked out.
Nailed it. Nothing squirrely going on.
I am too, honestly. Like I said, whether they existed or not, no matter to me.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Minor footnote.
Yeah.
You're real.
Not for those absolutely just scarred children from Central Park, though.
Right.
Yeah. If you think me naked is the worst thing that any child in Central Park saw that day,
that's the worst thing I would wish upon my worst enemy. Poor Mrs. Braden.
Yeah.
Lucky.
It's true. Lucky. All right. One last shout out to Chris Rose for coming on today. When we have an update on who the next hot seat guest will be, we'll let you know. It'll probably be Monday. We'll probably let you know on Monday. But Family Feud tomorrow. Survey's not out yet. Survey's out tonight. Survey's out tonight. Survey's out tonight. All right.
Yes, sir.
Become a member of the Baseball is Dead Discord. People will inevitably be like, well, how do I join? I don't know. There's a link out there somewhere. I think when people on the Baseball is Dead Reddit page will often share the link, so you can find it that way.
Also, literally every time we tweet out a podcast, the Baseball is Dead Discord responds to that, tweeting out the link. So
okay, yeah,
couldn't be easier.
Yes, look in the replies to the tweet that goes out of the episode, and you will find the link to the Discord. Join it there, and you will be able or eligible to participate in the surveys for Family Feud here on Baseball is Dead. Thank you again for watching and listening, and we will be right back tomorrow with more Baseball is Dead. Wow, what a turnaround. See you then.
We gone.